Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. We'll take roll call. Charles Dertinger.
Here.
Lori Vargo Hefner.
Here.
Paul Anthony is here. Mark Chavone and Frank Pittibone are absent. Before we begin, I'd like to call an executive session, brief executive session, maybe about 5 minutes. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Do we need to state the reason for the executive session?
The reason is some potential litigation involving some potential obligations.
Thank you.
All right, the time is 8:44. I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the GPA. Ready, Laurie? Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes of the August 7th meeting?
Yes. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve, a second?
Second.
Thank you, Charles. Any questions on the motion? Seeing no questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. All right, the treasurer's report.
In your packet, you'll find the balance sheet and the P&L. Then I also included a breakdown of all the accounts. As is usually every month, most of the activity comes out of the checking account. You can see that we had like $40,000 for Touchstone, $20,000 for Safe Harbor, $13,617 was for DCED, that's the Administrative Services Agreement. There was $30,834 for Conrad O'Brien. You see Norris McLaughlin was $10,100. Godfrey Daniels grant was $6,000. Then we had 2 checks for the work that Riley had done. Overall total deposits in the end of July were $2,750,000, $379.54.
Somebody has to make a motion. It can't be me, right?
All right, we need a motion to approve the treasurer's report, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Charles. Second.
Can I second my own report?
Sure.
Second.
Any questions on the
Even though I
motion?
didn't give it.
Any questions on the motion?
No.
All right, seeing no questions, a call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, invoices for payment.
There's one invoice for approval. It's for the advertising for the change in the meeting. The bill is $90.30, and it's to NJ Media, which we normally use to publish changes in the meeting and
Sure.
meeting schedule.
Yep, appreciate
And
that.
30 cents?
It's all right. So that's the only invoice for approval?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Lori. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Charles. Any questions on that invoice? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you.
And then attached is also the ongoing list of all the invoices that have been paid year to date.
So just so I'm clear, all the invoices paid year to date is 3.3. Paid through 8/17.
Is actually $4,424,000. That includes grants that were paid. And obviously, the large amount is for Krieger on the milestone payments. There's
Right.
been 3 payments this year, one for $1 million, one for $2 million, and the latest one was $1,875,000.
Apparently. Right.
Yeah.
David, just so I'm clear, that's what's been paid so far.
Yes, correct.
Right.
And is there another payment pending yet, or are we paid for the year? Or-
Krieger,
Yes.
I'd have to go back to
Okay.
see exactly when, they're done for this year. Yeah, they are
Okay.
done.
Are there outstanding amounts?
Put your mic on.
Oh, yes, sorry. Are there still outstanding invoices to Conrad O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you know the amount?
I believe, give me a second.
If that's right.
It's 29,000,
Still owed.
yes.
All right.
So we paid 40, we're looking at another 29,000.
Yeah, there's 2 invoices that are outstanding, one for 18,357.75 and one for 21,510.90. But there's already been $10,000 as a retainer that was paid, so that would come off that total.
Okay.
And they've already been paid 40,
I think it was whatever. is on
according
there.
to this report.
40,834.
34.
Oh, my.
And on that 40, one of that is the $10,000 retainer fee.
Right, yeah, that's,
The outstanding bills were the bills that were tabled from the last meeting.
That's correct. We do have some bills that were tabled yet.
Right.
the 4.4 million. And perhaps this makes sense somewhere else. There is a line item for 4.8 million, and then it totals out to 4. Okay.
Mhm.
I have to go back and take a look at it.
Thank you. Also, I mean, just to that extent, and I don't know that this is necessarily the best point to bring this up, but I would like to move forward in a manner that when we're doing the approvals, we have something of a system in place rather than what we did for the approval for the payments for Krieger Construction. That was a kind of haphazard, round-robin email collection of signature pages that didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. And
That issue really isn't DCED's issue.
right, no, and
Okay, just.
yeah, but I think I would like to charge DCED to come up with a better plan than what had been swirling around. You know, if we're going to convey nearly $5 million, it should probably be something a little bit more nailed down.
We'll come up with a formalized
I was going to say, I
process.
know specifically Mark has a better plan for what we're doing for drawdowns with the Slate Belt YMCA, and it's significantly less money than this, so if we can.
We'll
yeah.
come up with a process
Please.
to kind of formalize that and get the appropriate signatures, because you're talking about something that gets the appropriate signatures within the county.
Well, it's
And-
outside of the county. It comes from Krieger Construction, sends their signed invoice, then it goes to, well, it doesn't actually necessarily go to Benish. Everyone gets it at once. And then there seems to be a signature emailed over from other people to convey. Now, we all know that this money is you know, owing and due, but it just doesn't seem like it follows anything that would be, that would stand up to an audit or.
Well, one of the issues is the invoice does not come to DCED.
Well,
It
and
actually
maybe.
comes into the courthouse here, and then the appropriate approvals are done, and then it goes through fiscal to Public Works.
It would be wonderful if that's what was happening, but that's not what's happening. An email was sent to Alfred Benish, me and myself, and that gets signed, and eventually I just move it forward from my desk to get a check cut to fiscal, and then fiscal has the check go down to Public Works, and from Public Works, you get a call, and you pick it up, and then you put it into your account. And if this could be any more convoluted, I believe a cartoon would be necessary,
We'll get a more formalized, streamlined process.
or at least something that meets, that won't make our controller crazy when he sees it later on.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on the invoices paid through, what do you got, August 17th, 2018? All right. No action required on that. That was
No.
just for information, so thank you. All right, we have a public comment. So first up is Sandra Newman.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey,
Morning.
good morning.
I'm here before you, I think, probably for the third time. Supervisor, Lower Mount Bethel Township, and I'm here on behalf of the board. When I was last here was August 7th, your August 7th meeting. I indicated to you that the board had unanimously passed a resolution of support for the goals that the Little Creek Road Bridge Committee has stated in front of you numerous times. I have a copy of that signed resolution, and I have copies for everyone, and I'm submitting it to you for the record. In the interest of not, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but every time that I've been in front of you, I have asked for communication. I think things have been happening in the last 2 or 3 months, and the township has had no notice whatsoever of any kind of developments. We don't know if a change order has been issued removing Bridge 43, 44, and 185 from the P3 program. We don't really know if there's been any further investigation into the ratings of Bridge 71. Bridge 41, excuse me. So I am respectfully asking that you keep us informed about what is happening. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. And Melissa Rudis, please.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
I'm here on behalf of the county. Since the new administration came into office, we have been reviewing the P3 and services agreement, et cetera. I would like to hand out to you for your consideration requested changes to the P3 services agreement that have been discussed between the county executive, some of the other cabinet members. We think that they would probably be in the best interests of GPA and the county for these changes to be made. So I won't leave them with you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still at 2.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Can you take a look at these?
Just a point of order, how do we address this? Just it would
Well,
be
as-
referred to a future meeting?
As it turns out, I was not one of the cabinet members in on the meeting for this. So
smart.
I think they went out of their way to avoid me.
Probably a good idea.
Sent me over to the Human Services Building while this meeting took place, I believe. To that extent, I think it would be appropriate for our solicitor to take a look at them, and we can take action on them,
In the future.
what's appropriate next
Okay.
meeting.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, will do.
Thank you, John. Few items on the old business. We have the couple of invoices, Norris McLaughlin Marcus and Conrad O'Brien. I believe last meeting they were tabled. No further action needed on that? Okay. Fiscal Affairs Proposal for Accounting and Financial Reporting. That'd be 5.3 in your packet.
Yeah, I think from the conversations that I've had with folks involved here, this would make life for everyone involved so much easier.
Our suggestion is to have the auditor, the GPA's auditor, just look over this and make sure that they're comfortable with it, to make sure that our audit is smooth with them.
Well, I understood from the presentation, from the conversations I've had, that a lot of this was recommended from where we got stuck into with the audit this last go-round, and this was these were recommendations that were to alleviate those issues we had with the audit, especially as now we're effectively a blended component.
I think the move was to create a blended component.
No, we are now.
Dave, can you speak to this?
whole purpose
Yeah.
was to get fiscal involved because of their expertise, and to have everything kind of managed through them because they have the expertise, and it was putting a burden on to our department and to the auditors, and I think Steve can probably.
Is this on?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. To alleviate your concern, this plan was put together with the consent and the understanding of Deb Borger, who is the external auditor for the GPA. So she was well aware of some of these challenges, and actually this plan was born out of several discussions the Department of Fiscal Affairs had with the GPA's external auditor. So this is sort of all of our meeting notes together as what would be the ideal scenario after talking with the external auditor, as well as what would work for the county's internal controls through RKL, who is our external auditor. So that's how we came to this plan.
Yeah, that was my understanding. So what you're asking for seemingly has already taken place.
Redundant. Okay.
Yeah, it was in concert. When Mary Alice had made the presentation, that was the point that was made.
Okay.
So I would offer a motion to accept the proposal and move forward in that manner.
Okay. I'll second that motion. Any questions on that motion?
Yeah, I'm just confused about who has what role, because I sit in 2 seats. So I know that it was brought to county council's attention to request to do this. So does county council have to approve
No,
this
this has
as well?
nothing to do. Yeah, we're the only ones. This is just a GPA.
This is basically
Okay.
how the GPA does its accounting. Currently,
To bring it within the,
Currently,
Yeah, correct.
Dave handles this in QuickBooks, and we kind of take on that function. With the addition of the P3, like, it's no longer a simple nonprofit, like we're cutting small checks here and there. It's become a much bigger, and we're a blended
component.
component now of the county. So it makes sense to establish some of the fiscal controls that the county, and kind of use them through our administrative services agreement to perform that function. So they would just help us keep the books. We would have a check cutting process that would run through them instead of us cutting them in DCD. Like, we maintain separate bank accounts and things like that. So we'll need to work through that transition with fiscal, but I do think it's a much better way to
And
account
it
for
could save the
GPA's
problems that we're
books.
having with,
Right.
my signing off for $4.8 million worth of checks that are going through emails and up and down the stairs here. So
thanks for clarifying.
No, it'll really put, controls in that are lacking at this point.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So is a motion a second?
I have seconded that motion. There was questions. Any other questions on the
Nope,
motion?
I have.
No other questions? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is to finalize a quit claim deed for bridge number 15. Can you report on this, Charles? Or-
This is actually something that, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll just ask Ms. Kuklinski to nod. In our last meeting, we were trying to put together this all as one change to the contract. There will be 2 other bridges that we're going to discuss in my report and during the Benish report, so that rather than doing this in a series of messy little addendums, we can make one master change to the.
All right, help me out. I don't have these memorized yet. Which one's 15?
15 was the Meadows.
Down Town?
Yes.
Okay.
The bridge I
Lower
broke.
Saucon, the bridge that Lori broke. She had gone over that morning, and then it got closed down. So someone has to be blamed.
Don't put that out to the Lower Saucon people, or they'll be coming to my house.
Okay.
Lori did nothing wrong on that bridge, drove on that bridge. It has been a bridge of concern for a very, very long time, going back to even when I sat on county council. And if you have a bad bridge and you pay no attention to it, it doesn't get better. So
once this is finalized?
we will be looking at a number of bridges that we're taking out, some that are being changed in their component, and 2 bridges that are being added that really should have been considered in the very first place, as well as considerations for Bridge 124, which we're going to continue moving forward on. That's the, and unfortunately for everyone else, I speak bridge numbers now, which was something I had hoped never to do, but the Bridge 124 is the bridge right in front of Wayne A. Group Park on Willowbrook Road. That is the
FedEx
bridge that
bridge.
is connected to the FedEx, yeah. So if you've driven over that bridge, you can see just how incompatible it is with the road now, and as part of their development agreement, they're supposed to add a lane to it. So we are in the process of making that happen with Allen Township and with Krieger, the county, and GPA.
So do you need a motion for this?
At this time, no. I think we can. This is just to bring to your attention where we are on that. And once this is all settled out, there are continuing conversations going on with the other changes that we had, and I'll explain that better after Benish speaks.
Okay, thank you. Next item is RFP for a GPA solicitor. There is a recommendation here to approve DCED to work with the county's purchasing department to advertise the RFP and collect responses and present that back to the GPA.
Yeah, so in the past, we've worked with the purchasing department, again, through our administrative services agreement. They have the processes in place to do the advertising, things like that, basically collect the responses, and then we would set up a committee internally with the GPA to make the decision, review the proposals,
Recommendation or
do interviews, whatever, however you want to handle that.
Sure.
We just wanted to make sure we had the permission of the GPA to work with purchasing to develop that.
Sure.
If you want to see the final RFP before it goes out, I'm hoping, timeline-wise, I'd like to try to get this wrapped up this month, that it's advertised before the next meeting. So if you'd like to appoint somebody for us to work with within the GPA for final sign-off, or if you're fine with us doing it, that works for me.
I'd like to see the RFP before it goes out.
Okay.
I'd like to appoint the chairman to be the RFP.
Thank you, Mr.
sign-off
Berger.
person.
Absolutely. But it seems like there's a process in place with the county. And,
Yeah.
You know, why muddle it up? So
Again, do we need,
We need
moved on
to-
the suggested motion?
yes, we need that. Lori,
Do I have to state it?
No, just so moved.
So moved.
thank you, Lori. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you. Motion carries.
Just one quick item.
Sure.
On the invoices paid, that number is actually 5424. Instead of the 4, it's 54.
Oh,
I went
now we
back
have
and
to
added
go back.
everything else. It's actually 54.
Tell me what paid.
They'll be here.
Right here.
Yeah, no.
Three.
It's, a million here, a million there. Sooner or later, we're talking real money.
I apologize.
Got to revote the whole thing? No. Do we have to amend the report?
No, there was no motion.
All right.
Yeah.
That was just invoices. That was information.
That was an invoice, yeah.
Bridge update.
Yay.
Good morning, Greg. You're smiling, so it has to be good.
Yeah, good stuff today.
Of course he's smiling. He got to meet with me before this meeting.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he be smiling?
Apologize for that, Greg.
So yeah, as of right now, not too much on the design end. We've seen some right-of-way plans from GPI, but it's been pretty quiet as they're getting ready for some submissions to DEP. But from the construction end, we got all sorts of good news coming on. Since we last met, Bridge 205 is open, and right now under construction are bridges 189, 191, and 66. Bridge 189, and 189 and 191 are both in Washington Township. 66 is in Stockertown Borough. 189 is getting paved today as we speak, so that should be open, I would say, weather permitting, within a week. 191, 66, we're probably looking at about a little over a month or so till they get wrapped up. So Krieger's still getting delays from utilities. Sometimes it gets better, then they say they're coming out and we don't see anything. So the utilities have been holding them up rightfully. So we've talked at length about this at our status meetings. We're going to hopefully put a plan in place for 2019 so this doesn't happen. We're getting very proactive with the utilities. We're going to get on the board early and try to get this resolved, whether it be with contracts, or how we go about it. But we don't want this to happen next year, because we're seeing that once Krieger's out, they're doing a very good job and they're moving very quickly. So we don't want this to be holding them up. So that's pretty much it from the construction end. The other thing that went, as you heard, milestone payment got approved as well too. Their next one is not till May of next year. So last thing I'll bring up too is bridges 63 and 184, which they were hoping to do in 2018, will be moved to 2019 due to the delays they faced so far. And there's some.
Wait, say that last part again. Due to what delays?
Utility delays.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, on the other ones. They're just not as far as they want it to be.
Is that the only delays you're seeing, is utility relocation?
Pretty much, yeah. Right-of-way's actually gone really smooth.
Right-of-ways?
Yeah, we had three. They weren't really major issues, but we had three property owners we had to deal with on the last round of purchase, but it wasn't anything too major. It was more utilities.
Okay.
But the next round, it could be different. I mean, it could be delays for easements.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately, what the utility easements were a problem with this go-round are going to be magnified next year, as it appears that most of the same utilities that we're going to be dealing with will be the same company. And to that extent, Mike Amelie and Executive McClure actually had a meeting with a representative of that one of the utility companies to try to facilitate moving this forward. And we are very hopeful for next year more than what happened this year, so that we don't run into these same delays, which were painful, to say the very least.
So are you only looking at this a year out at a time, or now that this has been identified as an issue, is it reasonable to look at the whole package and start
This was
to
really the
identify ahead
first.
of time?
This was really the first year of doing bridges, despite this being the second year of the project. Only one bridge was done last year, and that was a rehab, not a complete replacement. And as they were just doing one last year, they really didn't have a program in place to move forward one after another after another. We're a little bit more hopeful, cautiously hopeful, that the discussions we've had and the agreements that we're looking to put in place will cause this to be less of a concern. But that does bring us into some of the, the replacements and the changes that we're going to be making. One of the conversations that we've been having at the progress meeting after the GPA moved to remove those bridges at the last, or asked them to address breaking out and providing pricing for those other bridges. We identified that since the other bridges had not been started for the 2019 round, that those could be addressed, or those could be considered. And as a result of that, Mike Amelie, the Director of Public Works, and I went back to the drawing board, took a look at what was coming up, and by far the worst bridge in the county for utility relocations is on our list for replacement next year. It has a fiber optic line attached to it that would be dramatically, in initial numbers that had been thrown out there, is a $500,000 relocation to move that fiber line. There's been a number of meetings there. The good news is it's a concrete arch bridge, much like I believe Bridge 43, which will probably outlast me. So there is really no reason for that bridge. That bridge had no reported structural deficiencies. It's just an old bridge that was put on the list. Another one of the, as our superintendent in Northampton County refers to, head-scratching bridges, that why would you replace this? Its average daily traffic is not that high, and it's perfectly fine where it is, and moreover, it has a $500,000 fiber line on it. So that bridge, as well as there is a bridge 132. It is a stone bridge. It was set to be a rehab. The issue in rehabbing that was any rehab that was done would actually make the waterway smaller and create more of a flooding problem rather than, it would help the bridge, but it would create a new flooding issue there. The daily traffic on that is well, give or take 30 cars a day. It's a bridge that's on an unimproved road, as I mentioned in the letter that I gave to everyone today. It looks like when you're driving down the road that you're going down to someone's driveway. It's a stone road, and you have to go out of your way to find it. It's an easily bypassed road because there's another bridge very close to it that I drove back on after driving across this bridge a couple of weeks ago. It's a charming little bridge. It looks adorable in its setting. It's a stone bridge. It still has a sufficiency rating of 15 tons, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's just a one-lane bridge on a one-lane road, which really seems appropriate to leave just the way it is. And we're asking for both Bridge 78, which is in Plainfield Township, and Bridge 132 in Allen Township to be considered for removal from the project once we have numbers from Krieger and GPI for a cost breakout.
Where was 78 again?
78 is in Plainfield Township on Engler Road across a little Bushkill Creek. And anytime you're talking about the little of any of these creeks, they're just small tributaries, so it's not a significant crossing. And for that matter, while we're on that subject, I would make that motion to also leave Northampton County Bridge 219, which we had originally considered removing in Wind Gap Borough. There are other concerns that presented themselves after the discussion to take it from a replacement to a rehab. It clearly should remain as a rehab, so that's not something we necessarily needed to take action on because we could just simply not.
You mean replacement?
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, 219.
So that one, just for clarity, we'd like to keep as a replacement. And so I would ask for a motion to direct Krieger and GPI to give us a cost breakout for those two bridges and to ignore the earlier request for Bridge 219.
Just so I'm straight here, Charles, is that a motion?
That was a motion.
Could you please restate that?
I certainly can. I'd like to make a motion to ask for bridges 78 and 132 to be given a cost breakout for removal from the project, subject to agreed upon proposals from Krieger and GPI.
Okay.
So moved.
Hang on, was there another part of that for Bridge 219?
And, well, that's...
Or is that a different motion?
It can be part of the same motion, and that we ignore the original request for...
My suggestion would be to just take the
Yeah.
ones you want out, and then if you want to change stat, I think we should keep it
We
cleaner.
don't necessarily need a discussion on 219. We could just... Krieger and GPI have already been directed that 219 is going to stay in, and we can just not accept the pricing on that bridge, so...
Okay, so your motion is Bridge 78 and 132 could be a cost breakout from Krieger and GPI.
That's correct.
All right. Second that motion?
That would be you, because I made the motion. I so moved. Or did you make the motion?
I was
Charles
making the
made it,
motion, but
but-
that's
All
okay.
right,
I'll
then I'll
second it.
second.
That's okay.
Thank you, Lori, for seconding that
I'm
motion.
sorry. There's
Any
only
other
3 of us
questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else, Charles?
Yes, through this whole thing, and a number of these changes, as well as other discussions and so on, Benish has been tasked to do a number of things that were not part of their original contract. Part of the meeting that Greg and I had before this meeting, Mr. Kukulisi and I had before this meeting, was to discuss additional services that they're providing that they have not been paid for. In the past, the GPA had directed them to bill specifically for other elements that were here. We discussed a more clear breakout of what these costs and hours are, so that we can take this up at a next meeting, and hopefully Benish will provide us with an invoice that we can discuss at our next meeting.
So is that invoice bundled, or is it all broken out?
I'll break it out.
Please.
I'll break out all the hours we've done for each one.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of bundling invoices. So if you break it out, appreciate that.
I mean, a lot of stuff on there we've already done. So I mean, what I can do is I can give you, because I didn't want to stop, as I noted before, I never want to stop the project. So
If I could just ask you to speak into the microphone there.
Yeah, so we did some things that were out of scope just to keep the project moving. So it's all bundled into what we've done already. But I'm going to break down all the hours for each task, and I'll show it to you.
Okay, appreciate that.
Sure.
Is this something that would, these services would be additional that would continue in the future?
Yes, there's some of those there.
So do we need? In some cases, yes. In some cases, we're going to discuss what the Director of Public Works can take up. But there's...
I guess my question is, like, do we need to modify the overall agreement with Benish to cover that stuff?
Well, there too, I'd also like to, if I may, ask the solicitor to look at a letter that I'll present to him that I had from Benish to see what is part of our scope and what, so that we're all clear as to what needs to be done. And you'll be, DCED will also be given a copy of that letter so that we're all on the same page.
Cool.
Has the GPA approved a per-hour fee to Benish for these services? Do we know?
We have a lump sum is what we have. So our contract's a lump sum, and we broke out in the service agreement like how much we were going to do per period.
Right, but now that if you
no.
have additional services that you're going to be presenting to the GPA, is there a hourly cost?
I would give you the rate. I would give you the rates.
Hourly rate. Okay, but that has not.
There's not been. It appears no such thing as existed prior to this.
Okay.
And this was just something at that point that previously GPA was, I hate to say kicking down the road, but they've just been kicking down the road up until now. So
Okay.
That may be something that would be good to include. I know with a lot of like engineering contracts, like you have a lump sum contract, and then a lot of times they'll identify if additional services are needed outside of the scope, this is our fee schedule for, surveyor, bridge engineer, whatever. That might be something that would be good to include.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that.
this seems something that was just ignored, as there would be some level of expectation. There was one of the bridges had a sinkhole under it, and has really been a lot of conversation between the Director of Public Works and Benish and Krieger and their engineer as to what needed to be done and how we were going to do it. One would imagine that if you're in Northampton County, which has had, I understand, maybe one or two sinkholes in its history in the past, you might consider making certain that this is something that will be addressed moving forward, change orders and the like. And I don't know how that was addressed in the contract, which is why I'd like to ask the solicitor to take a look to see what we have there and what's not there, as well as staff to see if what should have been covered or what was simply ignored. I mean, by the time we're finished looking at this contract, there seems to be a Swiss cheese element of a lot of holes that were left behind.
All right, Greg, you have anything else for us?
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you next month.
Thank you. I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if I should bring up here in new business, but is there a way to clarify or create a process? Because I know that there are plenty of people that are engineers that are making conscious decisions about which bridges need what. We're reviewing what has been. But I get a sense sometimes that people think that they can just go, hey, look at my bridge and let me swap this in and let me swap that out. Is there a way to clarify this process so that the general public doesn't get a sense that we could just take any bridge at any time? Like, I know that from my limited time in being involved with this, there's very conscious choices about what's happening, why, and I know that this Little Creek, there's 5 bridges being considered here or questioned here. Like, how do we clarify to the general public that you can't just bring a bridge here and we're going to switch them around? Because the contract is the contract.
Right, and that's effectively why we removed what we removed from the contract. The Director of Public Works and the Bridge Superintendent reevaluated the bridges that were on the P3. And in conversations with Krieger Construction and during the progress meetings, it was really said by them that they're not interested in redoing bridges that are good, that are just on the list. And they were willing or open to the idea of addressing which bridges were there. Other bridges that are being added, one was actually Bridge 228, which we discussed at the last meeting, Nancy Run. That was added because originally that was kind of thrown in there as a replacement for Bridge 124 that everybody believed that FedEx had taken ownership of, or the Rockefeller Group had taken ownership of, and that wound up not being the case, that being perhaps the most convoluted story in Northampton County of the last 3 years. That having been settled, but in the meantime, they were given direction by the previous authorized member from the GPA to deal with P3. They were told to do the engineering and do it, so a lot of money had been expended without any real actions being taken by anyone, and it is a bridge that is structurally deficient. So it was a bridge that really should have been considered. The earlier rounds of this, and I know that the County Council's Finance Committee had taken this up and had asked these questions, and you know, the more times you ask this question, the more head scratching there winds up being. But the reality is, an outside consultant in concert with the former Director of Public Works got together with a map and picked some bridges that were, you know, seemingly politically, if not expediently easy to replace, not necessarily needing to be replaced. A collection of like bridges that they could do in a fast and efficient manner to say, like, look what we've done. Which is why a number of these bridges that are on the back end of the project have been addressed. The rest of them, you know, are really just too far forward, or too much money has been expended to make it appropriate towards the taxpayers to now not finish.
And I'm not bringing this up because of the Little Creek project, I just want to clarify that, but I've just heard rumblings elsewhere like, oh, this might be a bridge that needs to get fixed, and I think that we have to address publicly that this is a finite contract with finite number of bridges, and it's not just swapsies.
Bridges, this is not swapsies, and bridges that do need to be addressed, do need to be fixed, are an ongoing project for the Department of Public Works. Whether they are added to the tip, where that becomes something non-GPA. The GPA is not involved in that. The county public works, county superintendent of bridges, and LVEDC, nope, LVPC, wrong collection of letters. Planning Commission deals with those bridges, whether they make it onto the tip, whether they are replaced under the county's bridge program. This P3 is separate of that entirely. It's just a matter of what works within this contract and what is agreeable to all parties. This is not something that swapsies, as you say, can be considered.
And then the last question I have is, so what process are we using to work with the Little Creek folks to identify what stays, what goes, or what doesn't?
That has already gone through its review. The discussions with the folks that were there, and we had previously, the GPA had previously moved to remove 43, 44, and 185, which are structurally sufficient bridges. The other ones that will remain, 195, I believe, and 41, were found to be structurally deficient as a review done after the fact by our engineers and based on the engineers. So it has been a process, and there has been discussion as to what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done.
So did we, as GPA, approve the removal of those bridges, or we're not
That
at
has,
that point yet?
presently, what we have done is ask Krieger, and just as we've done today, we've asked Krieger and GPI to give us a cost breakout for those so that it may be considered by all of the folks involved, us, the county council, the county executive, once they receive the price situation there,
Okay.
if it's agreeable, their proposal. And that is a meeting that is still ongoing. Nothing has been done any further there. I understand that they have provided some pricing on some of these bridges, and that will be actually it's part of tomorrow's progress meeting for the GPA, for the P3 bridge project. So nothing has been done other than at our last meeting with the folks from that neighborhood present, that we had made a motion and passed to ask Krieger to give pricing to remove those bridges.
I apologize for all my questions. I just want to get brought up to speed.
That's all right. It's good.
Plus, I
that helps.
also want to go forward because I think I just, again, hear rumblings like, oh, well, why can't we swap it? Again, it is a contract. I think people don't understand the nuances that it is a contract, that it is an agreement. You can't just do that. So whatever information we could give publicly to clarify, I think, is helpful.
One of the things that I think might be helpful, and we can work to put this together, would be like a table summary of all the bridges and like just a very general status, so that you can see visually what's being proposed as being swapped out, swapped in, and like a general status update of, is this under construction, this is scheduled for construction in 2019, that kind of thing. We can work with you guys to develop that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're kind of, that horse has not left the paddock yet. So we really don't have that answer as to what's being swapped out, at this point, we're just discussing what is a possibility.
Right.
So,
But there's a master list somewhere, of bridges. I thought I
Yes.
saw it one time.
I think it would be helpful, like when we're having these discussions, for
I
you guys to be able
agree.
to refer to some kind of list.
I don't have the memory like Charles does with
Right.
bridges and numbers and all of that.
I don't
right?
bridge speak like you.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm electrical.
and I'm hoping that the future medical insurance for the county will provide counseling for that, so I can get over my bridge speaking. So,
Bridge or P3 counseling? I think that would help, though, if we just had some kind of master list, just a reference.
That would be great.
Thank you. Anything else on the bridge update?
well, even to that matter, just for the sake of reality, have the other members of the GPA been given the contract for the P3?
I don't have it yet.
I mean, I can send it out. It's like 740 pages.
Yes.
Well, there is a PDF.
Right.
So,
it's easy to send out. I can send it.
and to that extent, what you're talking about is really just a 30-page, 38-page review of the bridges that does provide
Maybe we'll
the
start
photos,
with that.
and we can indicate.
No, I'll let you have the whole thing.
I would like those 38 pages
Right.
first.
I'm thinking of like a 2-page, 3-page, however many pages it takes to list all
Well,
the
just
bridges.
the list is 4 pages.
You know, just a little
Just a list, yes.
summary
I
table.
don't need the pictures, right?
Right.
The table.
Location, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
that's-
Okay.
All right, some new business. There's an item here for GPA website, Facebook, and LinkedIn page. Yeah, so I
So as a
comment on that,
little
Mark.
background to the GPA, was it last year that the GPA engaged Saul Communications to develop a General Purpose Authority web page or website, and also opened a Facebook account and LinkedIn account. We did not have the DCED staff was not involved in that, and didn't have access to maintain it or control it. We do currently have a GPA web page on the county website, which, we upload the minutes and anything pertinent, and we feel that that is a sufficient amount of web presence for the General Purpose Authority to provide information to the public about, agendas and meeting minutes and things like that. So we reached out to Saul Communications and had them, because nobody's updating the website that they control. So we're working on getting control from them. We've had them redirect any hits to people that are able to find that website. Gets redirected back to the county webpage. But our recommendation is that you really only need the page on the county website. And so we just want your concurrence with that, and we'll clean it up. And
No, as a point, this was done because they were planning on marketing P3 contracts and hoping that people were going to be that excited about this wonderful situation.
I believe
so. That they could. So, I
don't see a need for it either.
So I would make that motion to
Okay, Charles is making the motion
eliminate the
I'm seconding the motion
to
heartily.
shut down.
heartily.
All right, thank you, Lori. I have a question. Are we paying a hosting fee for the current GPA website?
my understanding is that they purchased the domain name through June 2019.
They who?
Saul Communications.
Tell them
Okay.
to give it back to you.
Well, we're getting it back,
Right.
but we're not paying them
We're not
anything
paying- we're not
more.
paying a
There's
hosting-
no hosting fee.
hosting yearly fee.
That's done. We're just trying to make sure we have control of it.
Sure, I get that, but
And
I'm just
again,
looking at any
we're-
other charges.
No,
you know?
we're not being charged for anything.
We're a county authority. We could be on the county website, unless you want to put little neon signs going GPA Bridge once in a while. I don't think we need to do that. We're not
No, I don't
rock
believe so
stars
either.
here. You wanted to say something?
All right, so there's a motion and a second to shut down the website, Facebook, LinkedIn pages.
Discontinue. Yeah.
We
All those in
seconded.
favor, and a seconded?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Updated signature cards. I don't know if you had a chance to pass all those around yet,
I
David?
still need Mr. Duringer's signatures, and then I have to get
That
the
seems
other
to be a
two.
recurrent problem with me.
Before you leave, please, if I could see you and have your.
Not a problem.
Right now, we only have 2 signatories for
Right, we
checks, and
need-
it requires 2 signatories, so we'd like to expand that.
Sure. But that'll be next meeting, because I know Frank's not here and Mark not
We're gonna-
is here.
I'm going to try to get a hold of both Mark and Frank to see if I can get their signatures.
Okay.
For the next meeting.
Sure, okay. So do we need to approve the submission? Because we can't really
You
submit.
really don't. I mean, it's just, the accounts are already established.
Right.
There's a change in board members, and we just simply need to update the
So we don't need a
signatures.
formal motion
No.
to approve? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next item is an RFP for deposit services. Can you just kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, similar, most of our accounts are with Lafayette Ambassador Bank. I know from other authorities that have gone back to banks, interest rates have gone up, and we're not getting the best interest rate for our money that's parked in accounts. So, and we haven't done this in a while. We thought it would be good to go out for RFP and see what kind of interest rates banks can provide to us for the money that sits in those accounts.
Okay.
The second piece of this would be to, again, go through the county's purchasing department to run the RFP process. The decision will be the GPAs will collect the proposals and present them to the GPA for a decision.
Okay, and we've been with GPA's been with Lafayette Bank for some time.
As long as I've been with the county, which is 4 years, 5 years.
I believe the county also also deals with Lovely Ambassador.
And they'll be invited to respond to the RFP. To me, it's who gives us the best deal for our
Absolutely.
money.
I think that's a great idea. I'll make that motion to approve. Approve DCED to work with the county's purchasing department to run the deposit services RFP, collect responses, and present to the GPA.
Second.
Thank you, Lori. Any questions on that motion? All right, seeing none, call for vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have is the meeting date calendar. When does this have to be finalized by?
We typically like to have it finalized by November so that we can advertise in December and it covers.
You're looking for a November meeting, approved by November's meeting?
Approved by November's meeting. So it's in there for informational purposes at this point. I'd encourage you to look at it. Did we identify any conflicts with just Election Day?
Can we just accept the November 12th date that you provided as the alternative?
If you want, we just want to make sure that this schedule's good for everybody.
Well, I know September. I'm going to be at a conference that I came back early from.
And
so
we
I'd have to
can
move September's.
We can move things around as you get. So what I guess I would encourage you, reach out to Sarah if we have some things we can send it around in emails.
Sure.
But we're just looking to.
Okay, we can get on that.
Can I ask what the remaining dates are for this year?
I did send that to you.
All right. Are we off on Election Day, or are we supposed to be?
No, I think we're on election day.
I can take a break from Election Day.
Okay.
I mean, if we want to, I don't know what kind of business we would have that month. If we could also look to reschedule it too.
Well, at present, I don't know that it's an issue, so.
So we're going to still keep the November date, which is the 6th of this year? We good with that, or?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right, so we'll get with Sarah then on the calendar. Thank you. Next item is the Higher Education Authority. That maybe Mark, you can kind of walk us through this also.
Sure. So the GPA was essentially formed when it was formed. The thought process was that it would replace the Northampton County Higher Education Authority and the Northampton County Hospital Authority. But they couldn't get rid of those authorities at that time because they had outstanding bonds. So you couldn't retire the authorities. Sure. Long story short, the Higher Education Authority has been an inactive authority for over a decade. All of their bonds are retired, and the past practice had been when you got appointed to the General Purpose Authority, you also got appointed to the Higher Education Authority. And we had been starting to address this with the previous GPA board about, do you keep it, do you get rid of it? The only benefit of keeping it would be that you could do bank-qualified, tax-exempt financing, which has a $10 million window. That type of financing has not really been done. The interest rates at the current time aren't conducive to it. But the recommendation is that we just abolish the authority, get it off the books, and make that recommendation to Northampton County Council.
All right, Mr. President. I received notice from the IRS that they're auditing the 2006 Higher Education Series A and B, Lehigh University. Does that have any impact on this?
It's actually a GPA bond. It wasn't true under the other authorities.
Okay.
And the response, have been copied on the response?
I didn't see it, no.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Because my advice had been, I assumed that there was some connection. My advice had been, if that were the case, if there were any connection, that we defer action. and abolishing.
The Higher Education Authority has no outstanding bonds.
Neither of the other two authorities have anything outstanding at this point. They're both basically with the state ruled inactive. We send a report to them every year. Now, the only thing is, the one authority the hospital authority has that one account that's open that has about $285,000 in it.
Right, but that's, we'll need to,
And there's from research that was done, there's no restrictions on that $285,000. So it would be up to, the question is, I don't think any of the board members currently exist.
On which one, the higher education?
Either one. See, that's the issue. You can't call a meeting because there's no board members.
Yeah, and I do think that the county solicitor and county council solicitor has been looking into the simple abolishment of those. So I think we can.
Well, I'm just for appearance sake, if IRS is looking at a college and we determine to abolish that.
Well, no, but this is not. It's not with either one of those authorities. That's what that
it's
IRS
through a
is
general
responsible.
purpose authority bond issuance.
And it's Lehigh, and Lehigh has got, that's for their attorney, and they're the ones that have done the response and everything else, so.
Yeah, those other two authorities have nothing to do with the IRS or the.
Is there any immediacy in dealing with the higher ed authority?
No.
No. It's been something that's been talked about probably for the last year, and.
Maybe even
just
longer.
Nothing's ever
Yeah,
happened.
I
We're
think.
looking for some type of direction.
I think the county council had addressed this at a previous meeting that, actually at Ms. Vargo Hefner and my appointment, that they had asked us to take up the abolishment of these zombie authorities. So that was the term they used it there. I wrote that one down. So that this could be, it would no longer just sit out there for no apparent reason. But I believe there may be some further discussion as to how that's being done. So I think we can discuss this at our next meeting after consultation with our respective solicitors.
That's perfectly fine.
And David, if you would send me that response.
Sure. I just got it. so.
Okay, appreciate it.
So it stays a zombie until October.
Till
Potentially.
Halloween. Till Halloween.
Halloween, we'll kill it for Halloween.
That's quite a spirit.
Is there any other new
Walking
business
Dead.
at all? Anybody else have new business for us?
No,
No? Okay. Next item, staff report.
No report.
Nothing on staff report? Okay, thank you. Next meeting will be Tuesday, October 2nd, 8:15 a.m. here in the chambers.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Charles.
You want to give me something that's better?
Second.
Lori, second that. Thank you.
Finish letter you sent?
Yeah. I have
All those in
my-
favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank
Email
you.
me. Email me, that's the best thing.
That was pretty boring, but that's all right.
Shaking the trees and waking up the big company and-
Thank you.